everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and look, it's Nikki Kinzer, ready for digital episode.
Yay!
Yay! How are you, Nikki Kinzer?
I'm good. How are you, Pete?
I'm doing very well.
Good. What do you got for us today? Good stuff?
Yeah, we've been talking about focus. We've been talking about, focusing on your strengths last week. And I've been thinking a lot about focus. And I realized as I was talking to somebody else and introduced them to a concept on the computer, kind of a visual concept on the computer that they hadn't heard of. And it was another one of those things that I feel like I latched onto really quickly, but thought, wow, there may be others who would benefit. So I thought I'm going to talk about reducing distractions in order to focus on while you're at work on the computer. And I have 4 sort of buckets of tips here but before we get into that, make sure you head over to Take Control ADHD, get to know us a bit better, listen to the show right there on the website, subscribe to the mailing list right there on the homepage, and catch up with the latest episode in your inbox each week. Also, please connect with us on Twitter and Facebook at Take Control ADHD. And this is it the last week people can register for coaching?
It is, if you're listening to this episode on time, Now, if you're listening to this episode June 15th, then it's probably already passed. Yeah. However, even if you are listening to it late, you can still register for the next group openings, which will be probably in the fall, early fall.
Okay. So the email or the form up on the website to register, to submit your name that says, hey, yes, I want it. You can still do that. But if you want to get in for the groups starting in June.
Do it now.
Do it right now.
Yes.
Do it right now.
As soon as you get done listening to this podcast.
Go do it at takecontroladhd.com. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Excellent. Okay. Any other old business?
No, I think that's it.
All right, so let's talk
I
about
want to hear what you got. Yeah.
Well, the first one is super easy, because most of the distractions that we deal with in our in our computing lives deal with the distractions that come into us from the outside world. And so the first one, which I feel like is a little bit low-hanging fruit, so I'm going to just say it and get it out of the way. Turn off your Wi-Fi.
But you know what's funny is that I've never really actually thought of that. Like, I thought you were going to say, turn off your email notification.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. But this is the nuclear option, right? I mean, This will shut down everything coming in from the outside world, and it really makes a world of difference. When I'm working on any sort of a big sort of editing and production project, I'm in Final Cut, and I'm really head down, those little notification things that come up in the top corner are incredibly distracting. And as soon as I shut off Wi-Fi, they go away. They miraculously disappear. So that's an easy one. On your Wi-Fi. A little Wi-Fi icon is going to be either on a Mac, it's going to be in the top right of your menu bar on the top of your screen. You can just right-click on it or two-finger tap if you have it set up that way, and click Turn Off Wi-Fi. On Windows, the Wi-Fi adapter is usually in your system tray down in the lower right. And again, you can just right-click on that and go into Configure it to turn it off. Just turn it off. So
great idea.
No more Wi-Fi. If you don't have Wi-Fi, just unplug the Ethernet from your computer. You will be disconnected from the outside world and thereby disengaged from those potential distractions. So that's nuclear. But what if you do need to have internet access, right? You need to have internet because you're working on a project that involves being online. So and particularly email. Email is troublesome because generally, and this is one of the things I hate about email, right, is that in order to be online and be able to, or in order to be in email and write email, you have to be online to do it. So here you are writing a message and more email keeps coming in. So I have 3 things to talk about. First of all, turn off your email. Take your email inboxes offline. Right. So on Windows, for example, you can go into Preferences and in the Send Receive area of Preferences and just select Work Offline. Now that means your Outlook is not going to be checking your email for you, but you can still you can still write email and respond to email, and it will just end up in your outbox. I haven't used Outlook in a long time, and so that's my my memory of it and reading the help documents this morning. So if I'm wrong on anything there, please somebody let me know. Send us a tweet at Pete Wright, and I will correct that in the show notes. But if you are on a Mac, say you're using the Mail application, you can do the same thing. Just click on mailboxes, take all accounts offline, and then you won't get email, but you can still kind of process your inbox, and it will catch up when you take everything online. There is a third. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I just want to make sure. So you go to Mail, and then you go to Accounts.
Yeah, go up to is it mailboxes up at the top right, or in the menu up at the top?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Click on mailboxes, and then it should say take all accounts offline.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So
I like it.
Yeah. So now you can sort of process without the kind of miserable failure feeling that you're never quite caught up, right? Don't worry. That feeling will come back as soon as you take the accounts back online, and you get all the email that was stacking up, around you. But at least you'll feel like you caught up for just a little bit.
Well, and it's not distracting you. I mean,
right.
I think that's the biggest thing is when you see a new one coming in, it's so hard to not go there and check it and just see who it is and what it is. And
exactly.
So that just eliminates that temptation.
Now, I know a lot of people don't use desktop clients anymore for their mail, particularly, say, Gmail users. I have a tip for Gmail users who work in Chrome, in the Chrome web browser. There's a Chrome extension that I really like that is super, super simple. It's called Inbox Pause at inboxpause.com. So if you're used to working on the web using the Chrome browser, you download the extension Inbox Pause, and it adds a pause button to your inbox in the web. So you go to gmail.com and you're looking at your email account, and over on the left, right above the compose button, is a pause button. Now, when you press it, it gives you three options. One is it allows you to turn on the autoresponder for your account. So, you can put a subject line and a message so that anybody who emails you will get this automatic reply that says, "Hey, my inbox is paused. Thanks for emailing. I paused your email so I won't see it for a while. If this is urgent, please, call me," or something. So that's the first option. The second option is hide label while paused, and so I just leave that unchecked. I don't, it hides the notification kind of label in the inbox. But the third one is the third option is the one that you really use this for, which is move messages to inbox on a schedule. So if you
smart.
if you turn off the top two, turn on autoresponder and hide label while paused. So those options you just leave blank, but turn on move messages on a schedule. You can say, "Hey, I want new email only to be delivered to me at 8:30 a.m., at 1 p.m., and at 5 p.m. So you won't get any email between those hours. But when those hours hit, you're going to get all the email that is stacked up between them. So you will not be interrupted. And
where
any
do
other
you get
time.
that? How do you get to that?
Inboxpause.com. So you visit inboxpause.com, and there's a download Inbox Pause button there. And once you do that, if you're using the latest version of Chrome, it just drops down a little menu that says, "Do you want to install Inbox Pause, this extension from this developer?" You say yes, and there you go. Then all you need to do is visit Gmail, log in with your account, and you'll see the pause button. The first time you press the pause button, it'll ask you to go through the the standard kind of security stuff. Inbox Pause would like to access your account, and so generally, if you're used to working in extensions, you'll likely be comfortable with that. But I really, really like Inbox Pause, and I think it works. It does what it needs to do. There are a lot of other email clients. I recognize there are a ton of email clients that handle, dealing with scheduling email in different ways. And so, your mileage may vary with this one, but it is, in terms of simplicity, this is a really easy one to get going without having to use an entirely new email client.
Yeah.
So,
great.
Yeah. The third one, and I'll say this is actually my tip 2.5, which is again back to notifications, is to do what you can to reduce real-time notifications. Email is just one, but there's also Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and all these things. If you've configured your accounts inside of Windows and the Mac, they're going to be constantly nagging you whenever new things come up. And I just can't stress enough how valuable it is to turn off all of those notifications. Don't let notifications control you. You need to control the notifications. Unless it is critically important, I turn those things off. You really don't need to be notified every time somebody likes a photo in which you are tagged.
Right,
you really
right,
don't,
totally.
You don't need to be notified the second every mention comes up on Twitter. You just don't need that in your life, and it adds noise to an otherwise signal-filled day. So let go of that stuff. That's 2.5. Number 3.
Awesome.
And this is a philosophical one.
Oh.
Use the simplest app for the task. How does that hit you? Just your gut reaction. Use the simplest app for the task.
The first thing that comes to mind is a question mark. Like, what are you talking about? What? I started doing this a couple of 4 or 5 years ago. I became overwhelmed with Microsoft Word. Right, I was just overwhelmed every time I sat down to write something. That was probably more than 5 years ago, actually. Every time I sat down to write something, I became overwhelmed with all of the options that are available in Word to format my text. And ultimately, when I'm in Word, it's because I'm writing text, just text, right? I don't need all of the buttons and gizmos and gadgets. I just need to get my text down out of my head. And I found that when I switched to a single-purpose app, an app that didn't jam all of these layout and features into ultimately what I was using for text, like Word, as soon as I switched to a text editor, something that allowed me to just write and didn't even have the option to format, I became much faster at writing, right? So that's what I mean by use the simplest app for the task. If you have a writing task, pick an app that allows you to write, right? I use, for example, an app called Ulysses for the Mac and the iPad, which is just a text, creation tool. It allows you to simply write text. If it's a document, if I'm creating a document that I then need to format, I will move that text into Word and format it, but I've separated those functions, right? Now, less distractions.
I have less distraction. Now, what I love about these apps is so simplifying your app choices, you can go even further than that. If you do any sort of design, why not choose an app that allows you to do the simplest function that you need to do? Say you need to crop a photo. You can crop a photo using the built-in preview app on the Mac and the built-in app on Windows too. You can crop a photo using that. Why do you need to open Photoshop, this giant 1,100-pound gorilla of design in order to crop a photo? You can do it much more quickly using the simpler tool. And so I think, moving toward this habit of using the simplest tool for the task is a really good thing. And again, can reduce distraction. You don't get distracted by the bells and whistles. Now, on that front, this is actually the trick that I showed to my colleague who was really blown away, which is working in full screen. Do you ever work in full screen?
It's interesting because I'm going to probably not be the right person to ask because I don't like working in full screen. Because sometimes when I hit, and I guess it's probably because of my new computer, but I'll get on, Google Chrome to Google something and it pops up full screen. And I almost always decrease it a little bit.
Well, and this is actually a slightly different thing on the Mac, is because you can't just decrease it a little bit if you're in truly native full screen, which is when you click the little green button on the Mac. You have the red, yellow, and buttons on all the application windows, and the green one now, if you're using Yosemite, the latest version of Mac OS, if you click the green one, it takes your app into full screen and it removes all of what we call the window Chrome, right? it removes the menu bar. It removes everything.
I just did it.
Right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
And then, what you do is you now have eliminated all of the surrounding distraction of other apps that you may also have running.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually, now that you say that, because I'm thinking, because it takes away the menu bar. So you, again, don't see the email popping up.
And then on your keyboard for you, because I know you're still using a mouse and not the trackpad. And
right.
Frankly, many of Yosemite's core functions are built into gestures, using 4 fingers on a trackpad to swipe back and forth between these windows. But for you, holding down the control key and using the right or left arrow will allow you to see all of the apps that you, and kind of scroll sideways through the full screen apps that you have open.
Interesting.
Right? Mm-hmm. Now, I use these particularly in, like I said, when I'm editing a video project or a film project, I will work in full screen. It's a pretty logical use. I also do it whenever I'm writing anything. In Ulysses, there's a great full screen mode. Microsoft has been a little bit lagging to implement true full screen, and so Word doesn't really do it very well. And the Adobe apps don't do it because they have a custom interface that they've used, and that's very frustrating. It doesn't comply with Yosemite's user interface. Windows 8.1 does, and if you look at the Windows 8.1 App Store, you cycle through all the apps from Twitter to Netflix to all of the top apps. The user interface really takes from, again, what was, I think, pioneered by the iPad, these single function full screen apps. I don't like it all the time. But I do like it when I really, really need to get something done. I need to not see anything else that could possibly distract me, and that is something that's become really important in terms of my workflow.
Absolutely, I love that, and there's simple ideas. I mean, that's the thing too that I think is great about your list is that it's simple, it's easy, people can do it right away, and it does exactly what you just said. It eliminates the distractions, which is what we want to do. Prior to working on the project, because in that way you can just focus on it. So yeah, I like it.
That's
Pete,
right. And I think this is the first time in a long time that I have done a recommendation that you don't have to buy or subscribe to anything to make this work.
Right.
You really can. Yeah, you can explore these options on the machine that you are using right now. How can I turn off Wi-Fi, turn off notifications, deal with those real-time distractions, work in full screen, and use the simplest app for the task. Mm-hmm. That's it.
I like it.
Happy day.
Good stuff.
Excellent.
Good stuff.
That's it. I think that's all we've got. So head over to sign up for coaching group coaching if you'd like to join a group. It's an incredible experience. We're hearing great things from folks, and thank you all for downloading and listening. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.